Struggle for so long, it made me strong. Work so hard, have faith in God, and in the end, you must reap the reward. Confidence, fill my head, 'cause only on God I do depend. So when you see me smiling, on God I'm leaning low. I feel secure 'cause I will not fear. Oh, you are with the Lord.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, DG Mel.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How's everybody?
Doing well. In my area, it's nice and sunny. Cool
Oh,
also where I
it
am
is sunny
today. A
here
beautiful
also.
day. Yes, it is a
Looking
beautiful
forward
day.
to this program today.
Yes, me too.
I don't deserve it, but I receive it. Not lucky, I'm blessed. Not worrying, no more stress. My life is a miracle. Miracle, I'm alive. Walking in purpose, living life, what I feel alive. I don't deserve it, but I receive it. Not lucky, I'm blessed. Not worrying, no more stress. My life is a miracle. I feel I'm alive. Walking in purpose, living life, what I feel alive. I don't deserve it, but I receive it. Not lucky, I'm blessed. Not worrying, no more stress. I'm alive. Walking in purpose, should I die, but I am still alive. I don't deserve it, but I receive it. Not lucky, I'm blessed. Not worrying, no more stress. My life is a miracle. Miracle. God bless, I'm alive. Walking in purpose, should I die, but I am still alive. I don't deserve it, but I receive it. Not lucky, I'm blessed. Not worrying, no more stress. My life is a miracle. God bless, I'm alive. Walking in purpose, should I die, but I am still alive. I don't deserve it, but I receive it. Not lucky, I'm blessed. Not worrying, no more stress. I know I'm blessed. I know I'm blessed. No, I'm blessed. Everywhere I go, in everything I do, I'm blessed. I know that I am blessed. I know I'm blessed. I know I'm blessed. I know I'm blessed. No, I'm blessed. Everywhere I go, in everything I do, I'm blessed. I know that I am blessed. Blessed.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I get an affirmative if you're hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Afternoon.
Wonderful.
I'm hearing you.
I'm hearing you.
Good afternoon.
Okay, that's
Good afternoon.
wonderful. I'm glad that so many of you have joined so far. Please allow us a few more minutes so that we can get some key persons online. We should be starting in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too. LG Garfield.
Who's calling the LG girth then? Are you hearing me? Who is calling me?
Hello, DLG Garfield.
Hi there.
Oh, you answer to your name. How
Oh.
are you?
It is my name. I'm all right, thanks. Is it Pam?
Yes, it is.
I'm here, my darling. Actually, I did
Okay.
some laundry, so I just went outside to pick up some because the sun's been going in and out.
Well, my dear, I just put some on the line and the rain just came down and lasted for about 10
Wow,
minutes.
you get
10 minutes,
rain? Oh my
everything weather.
goodness. Boy, never mind. I didn't get any rain and I'd love some rain, but the sun is out for me now. It's going in and out, but right now, bright and beautiful. So I'm glad for that. Hi,
Okay.
everybody. Good
Hi.
afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well.
DLG Gertlin, I'm bringing my laundry down to you.
No. Guess what? I can manage the laundry. I only did half. And guess what? It's hard to put them on the line. So don't
Oh,
bring them to me at all.
bring them
I am
down. All
sorry.
right.
Sorry, can't help you.
Oh my.
But I have to try.
Okay, I can take them up to Pam then.
No,
Yes, I think Pam is better, Herman.
no, darling.
But
This
she
is
got
a
rain, She got rain.
rainy area.
I
Oh, my.
wonder who don't like me. Is my friend don't like me?
Who is
I'm
this?
wondering.
Pam?
Who is that?
Is who want to take them here? That
Hey,
couldn't
this
be
is
my friend.
Herman. This is Herman
Oh,
bringing up the
It couldn't be
laundry.
my
oh,
friend. You
DP
want to bring the camera
Herman.
with you too?
Good
Yes.
afternoon, everyone.
Oh, my dear. The
Good
sun.
afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, one.
Yes, it's DP Dane McLean here. Sorry to break into that exciting chit chat.
It's
I'm
chat for everybody.
just having some technical difficulties on my end. Nonetheless, the show will go on. So
Yeah.
I will be officially starting. I'll allow you a further minute to close the
No,
convo.
no,
And I
it's
will
all right.
officially start.
We won't take
We're
your
finished.
time. It's
We're
okay.
finished.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
anyhow.
Have a
Thank you.
great meeting.
Thank you. So
That you don't want to see.
repeat that for me.
Is this a Dane McLean from Sagicor?
No, this is Dane McLean, Kiwanis Club of Barbican and the Jamaica Social Investment Fund.
Oh, I see. Are you aware you have a namesake though?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Given the challenge of technology, I happen to have to be using a colleague's phone at this point while I try to get the system at work here back up. So apologies that my
Dane.
face
How
is
is the
not showing.
baby, Dane? Never
At some
mind.
point in time, I will be able to bring my face on screen.
We're seeing you all right.
Okay. All right. So without any further ado, good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited that you have decided to join us online for the inaugural Kiwanis Eastern Canada and the Caribbean Division 23 Central and the Early Childhood Commission's virtual launch and learn discussion, the first 1,000-day initiative. I am DP Dane McLean, and I will be your MC for this afternoon. Now, this forum promises to be informative, engaging, and stimulating. So I invite you to sit back, relax from the comfort of your homes, offices, or wherever you are on the go. Please note that this afternoon's program will be recorded and will also be streamed live on YouTube on the Kiwanis Division 23 Central channel. To proceed, I'll welcome Ms. Denise Thompson-Blair, the Human Resource Manager of the Early Childhood Commission, who will invite the presence of the Lord with the invocation. Ms. Thompson-Blair.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this invitation. Let us pray. Most righteous, eternal Father, we give you glory and honor this afternoon. Indeed, the songwriter says, what a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege it is to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh God, this afternoon as we come before you, we want to exalt you because we know that you are great and there is none like unto you. Mighty God, you are the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. And for that purpose, we lift up and we magnify your name. Lord God, as we come together in this fashion for this virtual lunch and learn discussion, Almighty God, about the first 1,000 days of a child's life. Almighty God, we pray that your presence will be evident on this platform. Almighty God, we want to thank you for visionary leadership, Almighty God, within the Early Childhood Commission, because we know, Lord, your word tells us that without leadership, without vision, Almighty God, your people perish. So right now, we want to thank you for the hindsight and the foresight that you have given unto our leaders. And we pray, oh God, right now that you will be exalted in everything that will be said and done today. Oh God, we wanted to bless the Kiwanis International, Almighty Father. We want to thank you for the collaboration and the partnerships that you have established, Almighty God. We pray right now, Jesus, that you will be exalted in everything that will be said and done today. Oh Lord, order every person's step so that they will glorify you. In no other name we pray this afternoon. We invite your presence. We know that you are with us. We ask that you will go before us and that your favor will wrap everyone on this platform. Have your way now, Lord, as we look to you by faith and we tell you thanks, and we call it done in no other name than in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Amen.
Indeed,
You're
for a
welcome.
forum of this, the presence of the Lord among us is most fitting as we look to, is most fitting. Again, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome everyone in attendance today. It is a Saturday, and so we are very grateful that you took the time from your busy schedules to share in this forum. We have a stellar list of participants and presenters today. Now, allow me to officially welcome and acknowledge some of our distinguished members of the audience. We have our district governor, Dr. Dolores Lewis. We also have in our midst our district trustee, Ms. Jelaine Manderson. Also, please allow me to welcome our host, Lieutenant Governor, Deborah Manning. I also want to acknowledge in our midst our distinguished Governor, Melford Clark. Also, I want to acknowledge distinguished Lieutenant Governor, Gertlin Holman, DLGE Leighton McKnight, DLG Bobby Winter, DLGE Pam Rodney White, DLG Keith Byfield, our past district trustee, Ralston Nunes, our Lieutenant Governor designate, Rosemary Henry, Lieutenant Governor elect designate, Hugh Reed, and DS Sandra McPherson. Also, I want to acknowledge in our presence and welcome Mistress Carleen Deslandes de Grasse and members of the commissions of the ECC's executive management team, our panelists, and other specially invited guests, including, again, other members of the ECC, other Kiwanians, our parents. Welcome all. To officially begin and to bring greetings, please welcome Mistress Carleen de Grasse Deslandes, the CEO of the Early Childhood Commission.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Deslandes.
Master of Ceremonies, Governor Dr. Dolores Lewis, Eastern Canada and the Caribbean District, Lieutenant Governor Deborah Manning, my very good friend, distinguished President Dane McLean, other distinguished persons, specially invited guests, members of Kiwanis Division 23 Central, members of the ECC, Good afternoon. It is my absolute pleasure, and Debbie knows it is my pleasure to be a part of this discussion, the launch of this Launch and Learn initiative, and to bring greetings on behalf of the Early Childhood Commission, a discussion that has been organized by the Kiwanis Division 23. Research has shown that early childhood is the most important period of life, as 85% of brain development takes place before age 5, thus providing the greatest opportunities for us to make the most significant and lasting impact on Jamaica's youngest. As we mold and prepare our children during the early years for service, leadership, and excellence, we must ensure that they receive proper nutrition, stimulation, and protection, the three major pillars for their optimal development. The Early Childhood Commission has made significant strides in ensuring the standardization of the administration and operation of all early childhood institutions operating across Jamaica. The ECC now applauds the efforts and the trajectory of Kiwanis Division 23 Central that focuses on the importance of early childhood development, but specifically zeroing in on the first 1,000 days of life from conception to age 2. For the success of all our initiatives, the ECC relies heavily on the partnerships established with public and private stakeholders, including service organizations such as the Kiwanis. Several early childhood institutions I know, and certainly our children, have benefited and continue to be the beneficiaries of your support. Partnerships help us to increase our country's likelihood of achieving the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. Collaborating for Jamaica's early childhood sector will help us to support positive transitions for children to achieve the best outcomes for them and their family. The Early Childhood Commission will continue to support the work of the Kiwanis clubs, your service in the education sector, and your contribution to nation building has been invaluable. I thank you for giving up self so that the Jamaican child is better for your input. Good afternoon.
Do you know, mommy?
It appears that we have lost our MC momentarily. Mrs. Deslandes, thank you so much for the heartfelt greetings. I'll now hand over to our Lieutenant Governor, Deborah Manning, who will give her greeting as well as introduce the District Governor. Over to you, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you so very much, Chairman Wendy. Our Master of Ceremonies, DP Dane, Governor Dolores, DG Mel, DLG Gerthlin, and I understand that DLGE Leighton is with us, has joined us, PDT Rolston, DLGE Pam, DLG Keith, other distinguished members of our past Lieutenant Governor Corps were in attendance, LGD Rosie and LGED Hugh, Mrs. Caroline Desland is my very, very good friend. We go far back. She is, of course, Executive Director of ECC, and we have others of her wonderful executive members here joining with us this afternoon. Our Divisional Secretary Sandro, Wendy, and other members of the organizing committee, distinguished Kiwanians, all members of our service leadership program, and our parents who are online, children, guests, everyone, everybody, good afternoon. Everybody knows that kids are at the heart of Kiwanis. our motto simply states, serving the children of the world. The focus of Kiwanis Division 23 Central's 2020-2021 administration is on early childhood development. We are therefore very pleased to be partnering with the Early Childhood Commission this afternoon in this initiative to raise awareness on its first 1,000 Days of Life strategy. Kiwanis Division 23 Central is one of 14 clubs with a membership of over 600 volunteers and is one of 27 divisions of Kiwanis International. We normally state that Kiwanis is an organization of thousands serving millions. Kiwanis International is a global community of clubs, members and partners dedicated to improving the lives of children, one community at a time. Today, we stand with more than over 500,000 members from K-Kids, Builders Clubs, Key Clubs, Circle K Clubs, and Kiwanis Clubs in 80 countries and geographic areas. Each community has different needs, and Kiwanis empowers members to pursue creative ways to serve the needs of children, such as fighting hunger, improving literacy, and offering guidance. Kiwanis International has a branded program called Young Children Priority 1, which is an ongoing community service program that addresses the needs of children 0 to 5. Young Children Priority 1 focuses on 4 priority areas, namely maternal and child health, child care and development, parent education and support, and safety and pediatric trauma. The literature on early childhood program is replete with information on the positive effects of early childhood intervention on children's growth and development. Each year, clubs conduct projects in some of these areas, as we believe in creating the kind of foundation that will allow all children to thrive and successfully transition into their other life stages. As Kiwanians, we are firm proponents of early childhood development and therefore underscore the important work of the Early Childhood Commission in developing programs that will positively impact the lives of children, their family, and the society overall. I take this opportunity, therefore, to thank the Early Childhood Commission, represented by their Executive Director, Mrs. Carlene Deslandis, and her wonderful team. Our expert panelists, Dr. Rebecca Tortello, parents, Mr. Norman Bell and Ms. Shamika Swaby, for the time that they have taken to share with us on this important topic this afternoon. I also must recognize the division's Early Childhood Development Committee, Director Designate Wendy, DP Dane McLean, Kiwanis Carice Harris, and Roxanne Lewis, Pierre Ramona, aided by Kiwanian Jason McIntosh, and the tech team, DP Karen Sinclair Lim, and Divisional Secretary Sandra, for organizing this wonderful event. I know that they have a wonderful program in store for us. And so I say to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the afternoon. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. And now I have the wonderful task of introducing to you our District Governor, Dr. Dolores Lewis. And she is the first Kiwanian from Barbados to serve as governor of the Eastern Canada and Caribbean District in the 46-year history of Kiwanis movement in Barbados. She is presently celebrating her 25th year as a member of the Kiwanis Club, Barbados Central, having served in many leadership positions during that period. She has been recognized as Distinguished President, Distinguished Lieutenant Governor, and a distinguished member. She is fully committed to service in Kiwanis and is a life member of Kiwanis International. There are so many things that I could tell you about our dear governor. But I will just say to you that she is involved in many voluntary programs to relax, however, and she does find time to relax. Governor Dolores enjoys spin cycling, walking, listening to music, all genres, depending on her mood, reading and gardening. She is an early riser and can be found in her garden tending to her many plants from 6 a.m. in the morning, taking time during the day to keep in touch with her family who are abroad. That's her 2 sons and 4 grandchildren who reside in the UK and the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our Dr. Dolores Lewis, Governor of the Eastern Canada and the Caribbean District. Welcome, Governor.
Thank you, LG Deborah. Distinguished Kiwanians in attendance, specially invited guests and panelists, good afternoon. Let me first congratulate LG Deborah and her team for organizing this 100-day initiative, which really is in keeping with Kiwanis International's motto of serving the children of the world. We tend to emphasize through our Young Children Priority Program, serving the needs of children from 0 to 5 years of age. So that particular initiative falls right into place with what we do and what we are interested in serving the needs of children in our communities. It is truly important to bring awareness to this 1,000-day initiative, since it is a unique period of opportunity when the foundation of optimum health, growth, and neurodevelopment across the lifespan of a child is established. This forum will certainly, I believe, familiarize us with what we must do and what we must know in our communities to strengthen this foundation so that our children will meet their full developmental potential. I believe that the program today will assist tremendously in that regard, and I'm certainly looking forward to a very informative and spirited discussion on this particular initiative this afternoon. Thank you, Deborah, and I can't wait to start hearing what's going to happen.
Thank you, Go.
Thank you, LG Debbie, and thank you also, Governor Dolores. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're excited to be part of this event this afternoon. And as stated before, we have some very, very informative presenters and parents who will be sharing with us. Now, to introduce our panelists for this first discussion session, I will invite my moderators, Ms. Carice McLean, who is a public relations officer, who will be aided in the chat by Ms. Paula Shaw, who is a planner. Carice, please take over and introduce our panelists.
Thank you so much, Masters of Ceremonies, Jane. Welcome once again, everyone. I would like to start by saying that in this discussion period, I'm going to encourage everyone, if you have questions, to definitely share them with us in the chat. Our wonderful second moderator, Paula Shaw, is going to be monitoring the chat for any questions. We will have a designated Q&A period, so don't be wary if you're not getting a response immediately. And please be aware that we are limited in time. And because of that, we will only be able to take a few questions on the topic, but all questions will be answered. So please pose them within, hopefully I'm saying this correctly, at least 7 business days. We hope to have responses from all the panelists to your questions, and they will be shared through the Kiwanis network. So don't be a little bit teary or sad if you don't see your question posed live. We are definitely going to respond to all questions. And in the Q&A, we will attempt, if possible, to take raised hands as well, which is one of the features in Zoom. So to commence, I will introduce our panelists overall before we go into the discussion segments. There will be 2 discussion segments followed by 2 separate Q&As. So to begin, it is my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Deslandes in full spectrum. Mrs. Deslandes is the Executive Director of the Early Childhood Commission since 2017. And as you're aware, the ECC is Jamaica's agency with responsibility for their early childhood sector. Mrs. Deslandes has been credited with developing the registration and inspection systems required for the operation, management, and administration of ECIs. She has assisted in the development of the standards for operation, management, and administration of the early childhood institutions, which was ECIs, which I mentioned before, and was a part of the team that developed regional standards for early childhood. She is now a fundamental part of the development of the national ECD policy and the development of the critical 0 to 3-year-old strategy, which promotes greater government involvement with parents and children in the first 1,000 days of a child's life. That is Mrs. Carleen DeGrasse Deslandes. We also have Dr. Rebecca Tortello. For the last 5 years, Dr. Rebecca Tortello has served as an education specialist at UNICEF Jamaica. For the past 15 years, however, Dr. Tortello has regularly lectured at the University of the West Indies in the Department of Education and is the author of a number of articles on education. Dr. Tortello has also worked with the Jamaican government as senior advisor to the Minister of Education, director of the Jamaican Foundation, and served on numerous roles in the Childhood Commission and the Jamaican Commission for UNESCO, the Jamaican Library Service, and the Institute of Jamaica. Whew, Dr. Tortello, you've been around the block. She also holds a PhD in education from Columbia University. Whew, a master's in education from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and a bachelor's degree in history and literature in 1991 from Harvard College. Can we say accomplished? Dr. Tortello has written a popular Jamaican history book, Pieces of the Past, a number of children's picture books, and edited a number of early childhood teacher workbook series used in schools across Jamaica. And she's the mother of 2 wonderful children, Maria and Rai. And so to begin discussion A, our panelists this morning, well, this afternoon, morning for me because I'm just rising, Dr. Tortello and Mrs. Deslandes, welcome. Mrs. Deslandes, Dr. Tortello.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. So to start us off, I do have a series of questions in mind, but as it is a discussion, wherever your thought or your knowledge center leads you, I will follow. So feel not to be shy to give us some additional commentary. So I will start with Mrs. Deslandes. Just so everyone can get a good background and feel of the topic, what is the role of the Early Childhood Commission and what laws or policies guide the ECD in Jamaica?
Okay, the ECC was created in 2003, established in 2003 by the Early Childhood Commission Act. And it was basically to provide, it was in keeping with the strategic goals of the government of Jamaica to improve the quality of early childhood care and development within the sector. We are the regulatory body for the sector, coordinating the activities of other agencies, ministries, and departments that basically impact the development of our children. we are responsible for regulating and monitoring early childhood institutions, as was said. And so we have specific legislative functions within, you talk about laws and other policies that guide. So we're guided by the Early Childhood Commission Act, establishing the commission, the Early Childhood Act, and the early childhood regulations that give us the power to enter early childhood institutions. We are governed by other laws outside of education. These are Public Health Act, the Fire Brigade Act, and so forth, because with early childhood, we take a holistic approach and we bring together all the players that impact in any way the development of the child. So our legislative functions are to advise the minister on policy matters relating to ECD, assist in preparation plans and programs concerning early childhood development, monitor and evaluate the implementation of the program. So it's not just creating and establishing, but we also need to monitor and ensure that what is happening should be happening. Act as the coordinating agency to ensure effective streamlining of all activities, convene stakeholder consultations, hence we're a part of this stakeholder consultation, analyze resource needs, and submit recommendations for budgetary allocation. So we also encourage partnerships to ensure that there's adequate funding to fund the several programs. Identify alternative financing, because without partnerships, we can't do all that we need to do. Supervise and regulate, one of our most prominent, I would say, one of our most heart-rending is our supervision of the early childhood institutions. We also are expected to conduct research in the area and to provide information to the public, and this is usually done via our website. So that is the Early Childhood Commission in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hernandez. You did mention that you do provide guidance to the Ministry of Education. And in that regard, I would love to know what role the Early Childhood Commission would have had in crafting the strategy for learning and development for children aged 0 to 3. Explain why, you took on that role, why that strategy is so important for the ECC as well.
Okay, so as part of our legislative functions, we are responsible for early childhood institutions with children 0 to 6 years. So it's everybody. Whether it's a private school, a basic school, a church school, infant department, all settings that have children within our age cohort. We also have responsibility for the 6 to 8 in terms of policy discussion, but that falls under the Education Act. And therefore, our emphasis and impact is seen with guiding policy. You know that for Jamaica, for us, children attending basic school is cultural. A 3-year-old going out September morning with the bag, new thing, in the new school, it's for us what we look forward to as a nation, we embrace. And so for us, children 0 to 5, we have over 90% enrollment within our early childhood institutions, not so much with the under 3s. So we have just about 12% of our children attending a daycare or, what we are now calling them brain builder centers. So it was clear that we needed to increase our focus on the first 1,000 days from conception to age 2. And to that end, the Brain Builder Parenting Child Development Program was developed by Prof. Samsvan, and we launched our 0 to 3 strategy in July 2018 to ensure that we had that emphasis on those critical years, emphasis on, as I mentioned before, the 3 pillars: nutrition, which is key for mother and child in those early years, early stimulation, and child protection. We wonder a lot, about a lot of things and really don't realize the link with when the child is in the womb, when the child, is in the early years, and what is happening and what they're exposed to and the impact it has. And so we have a baby that we say, oh, I'm cry, I'm colicky, or he's this or that or whatever. All of this, the first 1,000 days play a part in all of this. So it was a logical step for us to increase our emphasis coming out of developing our national strategic plan, the first one being developed in 2008 through collaboration with other ministries, agencies, and departments, all stakeholders, and funded by the World Bank. Looking and the plan looked at the life cycle of the child, and it served and is serving still as a roadmap to ensure that we are, developing quality ECD programs in Jamaica. So our first national strategic plan was 2008 to 13. Our second was 13 to 18. And we're in the middle of our third. Our NSP, as we call it, has, 5 major processes, which is effective parenting, education, and support. And so, as I said, the life cycle. So we start with parenting, effective preventative healthcare, effective screening, diagnosis, and intervention for children and families at risk, because we have to ensure that the most vulnerable are included and are included at all times. We ensure inclusivity. So we work with families and children with varying abilities. The fourth is a safe, learner-centered, well-maintained early childhood facilities. And the fifth is effective curriculum delivery by trained practitioners. So we not only ensure that our early childhood institutions the facilities are okay, but we ensure that our practitioners are trained. We ensure that there is a current and valid curriculum that informs what happens within the early childhood space.
Oh, thank you so much, Mrs. Desanes. Actually, I would love for you to repeat those 5 areas for me just once again, so I make a note as well, because I'm sure other people are trying to make a note, because I think that's the first time for a lot of us that we've heard these 5 pillars. So if you could just repeat them again once more, it would be greatly appreciated. Effective parenting, education, and support. Right.
So it's in support of the life cycle of the child.
Okay.
Right.
2.
Effective preventative health care.
Preventative health care.
Right. Effective screening. Diagnosis. And intervention. For at-risk children and families.
Then 4.
Safe, learner-centered, well-maintained.
Learner-centered, well-maintained.
Early childhood facilities.
Early childhood facilities.
And effective curriculum delivery. By trained early childhood practitioners.
Trained early childhood practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Desanes. I'm actually just going to pivot to Dr. Tortello right now, because you did mention the Brain Builders program, and I know Dr. Tortello, in 2018, you and Professor Sam Spahn, who could not be with us here today due to her role in the health sector, but you are part of the team that authored the concept paper, the Jamaica Brain Builders program, Jamaica's first 1,000-day strategy. let's just take one step back and give us the impetus for this paper. And what does it have to do with the strategy that, of course, Ms. Desandez was kind enough to refresh for us once more?
Okay, so as Carleen has shared, afternoon, Carleen, there was a decision taken. Yes, there was a decision, and good afternoon to everyone as well who's attending today. Thank you for having me. There was a decision taken by the then Minister of Education, who was Minister Reid at the time, that he wanted to establish what was called a task force. I can't actually remember the exact title. I always get this title wrong. Carleen may know it, but it's a task force on early childhood development or something like that. And it was a small group. Colleagues from academia, from the University of the West Indies, Department of Education, the chairperson of the Early Childhood Commission, the executive director, Carleen, and then it was headed by Professor Sam Vaughan, who I think deserves to be recognized as sort of the chairperson emeritus of the Early Childhood Commission, as she was the inaugural chair, and she still serves as a source of information and on an ongoing basis. She's a incredible resource. So Prof, we met a number of times. We began to look at local and international data, things like the globally, what had just been released actually called the Nurturing Care Framework. And we took that Nurturing Care Framework and we used it as the sort of basis from which to build out the first 1,000 days, or the Brain Builder strategy as it has become to be known, which was launched, as Carleen said, in 2018, and then kicked off the government's targeted plan of creating what are called Brain Builder centers, converting spaces into daycare centers in existing early childhood institutions, reallocating teachers, retraining, etc., with an initial target of 2 per constituency by a certain date, which I believe the ECC has now reached that target. And they are looking to see how, as the whole system or the whole sector, I guess you could say, is becoming more rationalized. So you heard Carleen say earlier on that we have different types of early childhood institutions. We have basic schools, we have church-run schools, we have privately run schools, we have, and the privately run schools run a range of fee, service provision at a different level of fee scale. And we have infant schools and infant departments. And concurrently, the government has been trying to rationalize the sector and build in daycare in that rationalization as they seek to provide more full coverage at the early childhood level, meaning full government provision. If you're not an infant school or an infant department, you do not receive full government provision. You receive government stipends, subsidies, which help offset your costs. Many schools do, but you don't. It's not fully free to the end user, which is the parent, right? So the government is trying to rationalize. People need to realize that the early childhood sector is much larger than you may think. So there's something like, and this is not the exact number, and Carleen probably knows the exact number, 2,300 or so early childhood institutions, which cover the gamut of what I've just said: basic, infant, private, preschool, basic school, whatever, church school. And then you have about 800, almost 900 primary schools, and then about 150, 160 secondary schools. So, the government cannot take on board the full operational costs of 2,300 institutions of varying sizes and demographics and so on. So using available data, the government is trying to rationalize, and in that rationalization, build in more support in the 0 to 2 first 1,000 days. So the Brain Builder centers were just one output, one target of that strategy. Another one was the ECC's First 1,000 Days app, which is a what would you call that? Which is a tool that is available to download on the Play Store or the Apple, whatever, and it gives you tips, advice, guidance, reference materials that you can use as you seek to maximize these first 1,000 days. Because as Carleen pointed out, billions of synapses and connections are made in our children's brains at that time at a rate never again seen. And the stronger those connections that are made, the more resistant and resilient they are to any challenges that might be faced by the child. And they're best made by having the ongoing stable presence of an adult who cares for the child. It's a positive relationship. Often that's the parent, right? But it could also be the teacher. But it needs to be a stable adult who's present, positive, reinforces love, caring, affection, the three things Carlene mentioned, nutrition, stimulation, and protection, right? And so the strategy is our national strategy is well aligned to the global nurturing care framework and well aligned to the national strategic plan that Carlene also explained, and also aligned to the early childhood national development policy, which we are still hoping to finalize. And actually, since then, additional work has been done, again led by Professor Sams Bond, because as I told you, she is an invaluable resource. Yeah, an anchor. Yeah. So her and her team from the Department of Child Health did research for UNICEF that looked at mapping services that are available for children born with congenital abnormalities or children with disabilities that are diagnosed very young in the first 1,000 days or shortly thereafter. Where would you go as a family? Where can you go? What kind of services can you receive? What are the gaps? And that information is being built into the Early Childhood Commission system under the heading Early Years Care and Support to try and ensure that we can close some of those gaps and enable a more efficient working relationship between health and education and labor and social security. So they're the three core ministries that work with families, particularly families of children with disabilities. So there's a whole, list of recommendations from that research, and that document is available on UNICEF's website. It's entitled Bridging the Gap. And we're looking forward to working with the ECC and Professor Sams Vaughan and her team too, and the health sector and the Ministry of Labor, as I just named the key players, to try and put in place some of those recommendations to make Jamaica more accessible for all of our children and families.
Thank you so much, Dr. Trilla. Lots of good information in there. And I love that we're focusing on that it takes more than one unit and area to bring this all together. And in that regard, I wanted to know, yes, we've made some progress. We've definitely hit some big targets you mentioned, and we're looking forward on what are the next steps. So what else do we need to focus on in the education system at home or in the community to help persons, parents, and the children get through the first 1,000 days?
That's for me?
Yeah.
That question is for me. So I think one of the things we need to do is find ways to more effectively or ways to strengthen the bond between home and school. So as Carlene said, our parents are very out culturally. We believe and we send our children out to school at age 3. But there's a lot that can be done at home. Our parents are our children's first and most important teachers, and the children who have strong parental support, strong parental interaction, positive relationships with their families, go on to be more confident, have higher self-esteem, and to perform better academically in school. So they arrive at school more ready to access the content, more emergent literate, more emergent numerate. So one of the cheap ways that you can do that, is obviously that, check out your child's school, make sure you know your child's teachers, stay in contact with your child's teachers. But even if your child is not at school, or when the child comes home, find out what the child is doing. The curriculum is actually a play-based curriculum and has built into it guidance for practitioners and teachers to connect and communicate with the family, giving them ways to extend what's going on in school at home. There's a lot of material on the First 1,000 Days app. There's a lot of information on UNICEF's site, unicef.org/parenting, that takes you, Early Moments Matter is the name of that campaign, and it takes you to the key stage milestones in the first 1,000 days and things that you can do at home. So important is talking with your baby, making eye contact with your baby, making sure your baby is hearing you and able to follow your finger and so on, and is hearing cues. If not, those are important things to flag for your medical practitioner, that your child is meeting his or her developmental milestones, sitting up at the roughly the age that they should be sitting up, beginning to say words or make sounds at roughly the age that is included in the Child Health Development Passport. That's another very important tool that the ECC has developed. It was funded by UNICEF. It's been in the system for about 10 years. And it again reinforces the important need to work in partnership with the healthcare sector at all times. So every child born in the last 10 years or so has receives a Child Health Development Passport. It was just reviewed, and so it will be augmented. And I'm really hoping, Carleen, that they will put information on the First 1,000 Days app in the latest version. It's reprinted every year. You know, it's a print run of whatever the birth cohort is. It also has all the developmental milestones in it. So it's intended to be a guide for a parent to use when they go to their. It's a record that the school can also look at and use to transcribe information when a child is registering. Another important resource that I'm hoping will be put into that passport, Carleen, is the link to the Jamaica Library Services Book Start page, which is, it's not a page, it's a, what do you call it? It's like a mini platform within their website. So the Book Start link, which is jls.org.jm/bookstart-JA, is basically a library of books for children from birth to age 9, some of which are audio and the words light up as they're read out. So for young readers, for babies, you wouldn't want to put the screen in front of a 2-year-old. It's really not good for children at 2 to be looking at a screen for long periods of time. But you could play the audio and let them hear the stories. And so you can bring this library into your homes. It's supposed, I believe it's a data-free or 0-rated site. So all of that, you know, it just takes up memory on your phone, but you can download one, delete it, download another one, et cetera, for your device. So those are some resources that are out there. But I think if our parents recognize as early as possible how important making time to play and connect with their baby is, and nobody needs to be taught how to play, right? This is a free thing. You don't need to have fancy equipment. You don't need to do it for hours on end because children don't have long attention spans anyway. But if you do it, you know, aggregately, cumulatively through the day, you spend these times, they get longer as the child gets older, the play will shift to games with rules, to where they're playing with other children, to where they're playing beside children, and then they're playing together with children when we can play together again in, you know, the outside world, and we're not socially distanced 6 feet from each other, et cetera. The benefits from play, even just 15 minutes of play a day, just 15 minutes of play a day, can spark those building of those synapses that I was mentioned. And that's priceless, okay? So the more you talk with your child, the more you cuddle with your child, show love and affection, extend your child's vocabulary by talking, by pointing things out, by repeating what's said, by building games into different things and being willing to participate. Play is intentional. And in our busy lives, we have to, unfortunately, it seems more and more schedule time to play. And it's critical that we do that. You can play in the bath with the water. You can play in the kitchen while you're cooking. The child is on the floor, banging a pot, putting things in and out of a bowl. You know, all those things add up and they don't really cost anything, just your time.
Thank you so much. So many gems right there. I just want to reiterate for everyone that 15 minutes of play a day. I know a lot of people often think you have to play for like a good half an hour to get something fun time with a child, but 15 minutes, I'm stunned at that. But one thing I wanted to check, where would someone be able to request this passport? I know you recommended it, but
it's at birth. If you give birth anywhere in the country, you're given it.
Okay, and this started when exactly? Sorry.
It's a little over 10 years ago now, maybe 12 years ago. So it's instead of the vaccination card that you used to get. So it has all the vaccination milestones in it, but it has a lot of other information in it, information about breastfeeding. Carleen spoke about early nutrition. You know, the first 6 months of life, the global recommendation from WHO is exclusive breastfeeding if it's possible, because of the multiplicity of benefits to the child and to the mother. Health-wise, developmentally, etc. So the passport has that. It has information on other aspects of child development as well. Everybody gets one. It's free. You just get it when you have a baby.
And are we collecting stats on this? Is there any, since we've had it for 10 years, is there any information that's telling us now that the implementation has been, has had a positive or greater impact on
Right,
the
so that's
first month
why
of the
it was reviewed. You know, everything has to be reviewed over time. So it was reviewed at the 10-year mark, and they're making some changes. One of the findings was that, you know, the passport is also intended to be, you heard Carlene talk about the 5 pillars, and one of them was early screening, identification, or early screening, diagnosis, and referral. So the passport itself is an early screening tool, right? Because if a child is not meeting certain developmental milestones, and that's a red flag that then says, let's do some further investigation. That's the first step in a national early screening, diagnosis, and referral process. Another step is the age 4 assessment, which is administered by the Early Childhood Commission, meaning through its practitioners and teachers, the children use tools that have been adapted for our local context, from global tools, validated, etc. And guess who led that process of adaptation and all of that was, again, Professor Sams Vaughn and her team, and funded by UNICEF at age 4. And that is intended, the ECC is now working on ways to strengthen its capacity internally to analyze that data in real time and enable it to be made available to the system to be able to be used for data-driven interventions in the classroom at age 5, which then makes, you know, this is the theory of the steps, then it would help to make the children better ready to transition to grade 1, which is when full government provision kicks in, right? When you go to primary school now, the government is paying the majority of your educational costs. So the passport data, I assume the Ministry of Health gathers, you know, the vaccination rates and things like that. And, you know, we're pretty good with that, and we're pretty good with our visits. Certainly nationally, you know, we tend to go to the clinics the most in the first year of the child's life, because after that, the vaccination schedule is more spaced out. So you don't see the child as often, and then you pick the child back up often in the early childhood system at age 3.
Okay, quite interesting. On that, I'm going to pivot here to Mrs. Deslandes. I'm wondering, with all these mechanisms in place, what would you say are the indicators you've been looking at the ECD that, you know, that we might be doing well in the implementation of the strategy? You know, what broad indicators may you be using to say, hey, we're doing a good job, or hey, we're a little bit behind here. How can we step up to the next level?
Okay, so since we launched the strategy in 2018, we started focusing, as was mentioned before, on creating brain builder centers to ensure that children have access to centers that are funded by the government. And so these are, for us, it's brain builder centers. For you, it's daycare centers, focused on our youngest children. And we have ensured that we have established the 126 that was required. Additionally, we are in the process of developing a training program for our practitioners within these centers, a 0 to 3 training program, so that they know and understand, one, what it means in the first 1,000 days, what are the things that need to happen. But then we always think that we have to use expensive tools, expensive toys to stimulate and to, you know, play with our children. And so part of that is to help parents and practitioners understand that day-to-day things in the home can be used. So, you know, that is part of our emphasis. Part of our emphasis is to ensure that within our brain builder centers, we have adequate resources. So a lot of the resources within these centers are provided through partnerships by the ECC.
And Mrs. Deslandes, has any of this transformed with the emergence of COVID-19? Because I know Dr. Tortello was speaking about, you know, the screen time for children that are age 2, it's really bad. But as we are currently, you know, all integrating at home, whether work and school in that space, you know, has COVID really changed how you're measuring ECD's goals and KPIs?
Right. COVID has changed a lot of what we do, a lot of it. And we have said that, you know, it's a blessing because guess what? We have a greater reach because now for our community relations officers, for example, when in our parent places, that was face-to-face, you're talking about 13, sometimes maximum 20 parents per session. Now they're reaching 600-700 parents in sessions.
Wow.
They now have 67 or 68 WhatsApp groups, because when the pandemic started, we did a survey with our parents and our practitioners, you know, indicating what do you have? Tell us what's the best means now of communicating with you. And parents indicated that the primary method was via WhatsApp. So our community relations officers man daily 67 WhatsApp groups, and you're talking about upwards of 100+ parents. So our reach has been significant since COVID.
Amazing.
Yeah. The other things we've done is looking at developing learning kits. We did it in collaboration with UNICEF for communities that were on lockdown. And we're doing it generally now because of children who have not had access since schools were closed last year. When schools closed on, I think it was March 14th, by the Monday, we were on our website with activity plans for each age cohort, assisting parents and practitioners in terms of this is what is in the curriculum. These are the activities you need to engage our children. So prior to COVID, we had things on our website, but it wasn't this detailed. Our curriculum was there, but it wasn't explained in a manner that every parent can understand. You can go on and look at one of our activity plans and go through the activities with your child. So that has been there since COVID. And supporting that is our learning kits and the different items that are needed to, you know, encourage stimulation and to assist the children in developing. Additionally, we were not able to do the age 4 last year because of COVID, because age 4 assessment is paper-based. What we had to do was to develop linking to the curriculum, a scope and sequence checklist to assess where our children are, what they're doing, who is missing. So we're tracking monthly. And because of COVID again, where are our children? What are they doing? Who is engaged online? Who is engaged in limited face-to-face? We have also printed these activity plans and have been delivering and have had practitioners and parents collecting from our resource centers these activity plans. So we're now providing support paper, via the internet, and via our website.
And on TV, Carleen?
I was just about to get to that. Also developed for TVJ and PBCJ 5 days a week, these curriculums being the curriculum and the activity plans, I should say, being explained by our practitioners in ways that, again, our parents and our practitioners can understand, and indicating what, if you don't have this, what else in the home can be used to, you know, to substitute. So we do practical sessions, for example, baking. And at one point, you know, the practitioner was baking cookies. If you don't have a rolling pin, you have a bottle. So go get a bottle, roll out the cookies. So don't worry about having a rolling pin and, oh my God, you know, I'm trying, you're having me purchase or do things that I cannot afford. It was suggested, go use a bottle, roll out the cookie. But these are activities that parents can engage in with their children. Practitioners can use to, you know, further interact with their children. What we have found where that is concerned, that our practitioners have been taping some of the sessions on their phones and using it as well in their settings. We
Nice.
have a COVID-19 corner on our website. The name will change in months to come as COVID lessons, but it's our COVID-19 corner. That there are the activity plans. We have their tips. We utilize a lot of UNICEF information, and so that is in our COVID-19 corner, as well as other support for parents and for practitioners as we go through the other side of the pandemic.
Actually, just to add to that, we also have on our website a COVID-19 tab, and that if you go to unicef.org/Jamaica, you'll see it appear at the top, and then if you click on that, you'll see things like 19 games for COVID-19 and 19 family activities for COVID-19 that can be done with children of varying ages using objects in the home, easily found items, as well as an IG live recording of Professor Sams Bond talking to parents of children with disabilities and ways to communicate and support them at home during this crisis, as well as public service announcements, messages, information that are accessible. So meaning for all, translated, interpreted for persons with varying abilities to be able to access the content. And then some stories of what's been going on with COVID-19 and how people have adapted, etc. One of the things that Carlene didn't mention, I think maybe because she's being modest, but the ECC just held, normally the ECC has a conference every 1 to 2 years, and it's face-to-face, and we all go and we present, and the practitioners take time off and they come and they stay for 1 or 2 days or whatever it is, 3 days. And they go to sessions that are often very hands-on and also some theory, but more practical. This year, the ECC pivoted, in every crisis, there's a signs of opportunity, and they held their Professional Development Institute online, and they had presenters from all over the world. The practitioners could Zoom in and out. They didn't have to leave their substantive post. They didn't have to pay to travel. They didn't have to pay to attend. They didn't have to pay for a hotel room. And they had, I don't know the full data yet. I think the ECC.
Okay, so in 2019, when we had face-to-face, we targeted 800 and we had 1,500 face-to-face participants. So we, exceeded that target. This year, virtual, we aimed for 10,000 online. We had over 15,000 registered, and another 150,000 viewing on YouTube.
Wow.
So
yeah, and on top of that, the ECC has also been working more closely with the Jamaica Teaching Council to begin to develop online asynchronous, free to access developmental courses for practitioners to take. One of the first ones, which was launched in January, was funded by UNICEF, which is an early childhood special needs course for practitioners to learn the different developmental challenges that might appear in a young child. What are the signs? What can you do? How do you assess? Where can you refer? And what are some tools that you can make, again, from easily found items? And sort of like a guide to making them, like steps to making them. So the practical video of how to do it, like a Pinterest thing, like how to do it, and then a video how to do it. And the practitioners have been slowly signing on. They're supported by a cohort, coordinator, I don't know what we're calling them, but that's the beginning of a series, I'm sure, of a different way now of doing in-service teacher training. Right.
Okay.
Because
I'm to take a moment.
That has increased significantly as well in terms of the numbers of practitioners we're able to reach with the different areas.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break for a quick video. What I'm going to ask everyone is just, we said we would keep this section here to about 45 minutes. I'm running a little bit over, but the information has been so great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video. I'm going to come back with 2 questions each for Dr. Tortello and Mrs. Deslandes, and then we will head into our Q&A. So just stay with us here. So the video will play now. Yes. My wonderful ITT. and we'll be right back with our discussion.
Okay, moderator, just give me a second to bring it up.
There is no period more critical in a child's development than the first 1,000 days of life. During this
Please let me
time,
know if
a
you're
child's
hearing
brain can form up to
and seeing.
1,000 new connections every second.
Yes, we are hearing and seeing. Thank you so much.
Only come together when a child receives three things: nutrition, stimulation, and protection. Breastfeeding in the first 6 months is the best way to give a baby the nutrients she needs. Lack of loving care in the early years is a missed opportunity for brain development and can potentially have negative lifelong consequences. But when parents shower children with love, they thrive. Feeling safe and loved sparks brain connections, making it possible for babies to explore the world and learn from it. Playing, singing, reading, and talking with children helps them strengthen family bonds and form positive relationships. In the earliest years, most of the energy from food is used for brain development. Responding to a baby's cry, smile, or coo helps her to build communication skills and empathy. How children are cared for in the early years lays the foundation for their brain's architecture. Future health and happiness are shaped by a child's environment and experiences during the early years of life. Make the early moments matter for every child.
Back to you, moderator Carice.
Thank you so much, Wendy. That video was quite informative as well, giving us that quick reminder that the early stages of a child's life is very important for their development. I'm going to bring back a question now, open question for Dr. Tortello and Mrs. Deslandis, because we've really looked at the significance of stimulation. And I was wondering, Dr. Tortello, if there's anything other than, play from your extensive work, are there any other key factors you would think that we need to think about in preparing our children for school starting from the early ages, as well as Mrs. Deslandis, because you've been in the institutions, what have you seen that would tell you that, there are other things that parents and guardians should be focusing on to prepare our children for starting school at an early age?
Okay, so I'll go first. So you heard in the video play, but also singing, music, talking, reading. Reading or exposing children to books cannot start early enough. It can begin when the baby is in utero, before the baby even makes his or her first appearance. The sound of your voice is very reassuring to the baby, and the baby responds to it. So it's a bonding experience on multiple levels, but it's also critical for building that vocabulary. So and awareness of vocabulary. So one of the challenges that we face in our system, and it's not unique to Jamaica, is that children from upper income homes who have had more exposure to conversation, to life experiences, going places, being talked with when they're at places, and not being talked to like, oh, how cute, and in baby language, but being talked with real words, a conversation. Yes, maybe you have to adapt it, but the more real words you use, the better for your baby. A simple trip.
Oh, we lost Dr. Tortello, but I'm sure Wendy will work with me. Oh, Dr. Tortello, you're back? You're on mute.
Can you hear me again? I'm
yes,
sorry.
we can hear you now.
My house does strange things sometimes. Okay. So I was saying there's a great resource also called the geniusofplay.org, which breaks down strategies, activities, simple things you can do with children of different ages. So again, play also builds not only academically and not only the bonding, the making positive memories, but it builds children's fine and gross motor skill development. It builds life skills like how to win and lose graciously, how to take turns, how to be patient. How to understand rules. The rules exist, they exist for a reason. So all of those things really add up. So it's really about the time and the quality of that time that you spend with your baby. If you're watching TV, that was one of the beauties, and that was one of the strategies that worked so well for Sesame Street, is that Sesame Street, was created to try and narrow this vocabulary divide and this sort of readiness for school divide between children from lower income and middle and upper income homes. And what Sesame Street tried to do was to show parents things that they could do in their homes, to have a show that would converse with the children, would try to be interactive with the children, get the children to speak to the TV, add in music and songs as part of it, and really sort of bring an early childhood approach into the home that would then be, reinforcing the readiness to go to school. So, and to thrive at school. So also, setting up a routine for your children, having play items available. If it's crayons, obviously non-toxic crayons, obviously crayons that are big for little fingers, maybe paper that the children know where they can draw, not on the wall. Musical instruments, if that's of interest to your child. You don't have to gender the play. You don't have to only give girls dolls and only give boys trucks or cars, and have things available if you can. If not, it's really about what you can, peekaboo, hide and seek, pillow fights, throwing a balloon up, trying to catch it, playing the music, dancing, stopping, freezing. There's so many things that you can do that are just fun and intrinsically relatively easy to do, and rough and tumble play as the children get older, putting them in a box. Children love boxes. Dragging them around. My husband used to do that with my children and tie a rope around the box. And some days they were in the box, and some days the box was a plane and the children made plane sounds. Some days it was a train and they made train sounds. Some days it was a car, and then the box would tumble over gently, and then they would be rolling all over the floor, and there would be laughter, and all of that is the positivity that video was talking about. And then that's reinforced by reading books about trains or planes or cars or trips or going somewhere, going outside, looking at animals, looking for shapes in the environment, looking for colors, saying the colors, saying the names of the animals, making the sounds of the animals. Something is big, something is small, something is medium, something is big, huge, gigantic, enormous. You start to show that vocabulary from very young.
Nice. Mrs. Desandis, anything to add to that?
Wow. No, most of it was covered, but also touch for young babies is key. Skin to skin touch. Dr. Tortello covered most of it, the singing, the hearing your voice. The play, you asked if there's anything else to add to play, but play covers so many areas and develops so many skills, creativity, negotiation, as was said, how to lose, because we tend to want to say, oh, everyone's a winner and you're going to win, but that's not real world. And so when children go to school and we're not all getting a medal for winning, then we're in problems and we create self-esteem issues and whatever, you know. So play allows that time that children realize, okay, I won, you win, we take turns, we do this, there's negotiation, there is building of self-esteem, there is, okay, I feel bad, but it's not a bad that I'm gonna die from, but I will recover because, and then, you know, it is explained. And so we create this understanding of, all right, this is what is happening, this is how you handle. So if we teach our children from early all these things through play, through, you know, interactions, as was said, you know, while you're cooking, while you're doing simple chores, going outside. We're so caught up with giving a 2-year-old a tablet instead of walking with a 2-year-old outside, having a 2-year-old start a garden to, you know, plant seeds and see what happens and mix dirt and water, get the mud, get dirty, get, you know, look at the leaves, look at the size of the leaves, compare the size of the leaves. We're so busy giving our 2-year-olds tablets and the phones in order to, I guess, to keep them quiet or to keep them occupied or to do whatever it is. We miss going outside and doing that kind of interaction to have them involved and develop different skills within our children.
Also, it's important to build on what Carlene is saying, that play also really helps to develop curiosity and critical thinking skills. And those are very important skills for academic performance and for life success, right? Especially in a knowledge-based economy, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're playing with the children, you don't want to take over the play. You want to facilitate the play. And if the child is, you know, you're drawing something together and the child is coloring the tree purple, it's okay that it's okay. You know, it's fine. Well, it's purple. Why is it purple?
Or coloring outside the lines. We get so caught up in, you need to be in the line. No, you don't.
Or they're building the tower and the tower keeps falling. If you fix that, then you lose that learning opportunity for the child to figure out how to fix it on his or her own, or if it's more than one child playing. Eventually they'll figure out that the broader they make the base, the sturdier, you know, the more support it provides for you to go up. But if you take it over, then they'll see it, but it won't resonate as much as if they figured it out on their own, is what I'm trying to say. So you want to participate, and you also want to explain to them that, you know, maybe playtime is ending now and we have to move to dinner. So, or we have to do bath time, where another element of play could come in. But you want to help your children learn how to transition from one activity to another, because when they go to school, they also have to learn these transitions, right? Between this part and that part of the school day. And often music is used to do that, or you could come up with some sort of routine in your home, whether you clap 3 times or you whistle or you whatever, that the children know that this means a change is happening and they can, you know, they're okay with it.
Nice. I love that. So we've definitely looked at the significance of stimulation via play. We've touched on that nutrition is important, very much so at the early stages. And we've looked at how our institutions and the guardians, you know, play a role in protecting our children and making sure that they're ready and stimulated for school. So what I'd like to do is invite both Dr. Tortello and Mrs. Deslandes to make some final points if they'd like. I know Mrs. Deslandes did want to mention a few more other contributions ECC is making at this time. And Dr. Tortello, if there are any key points you want everyone to walk away with today, what they will be, and then we'll go into our Q&A session. Mrs. Deslandes, we'll start with you.
Okay. In terms of, you know, what we've done, we are now looking at putting our age 4 assessment online. And so that is for next year. So the next time age 4 assessment will be administered to our 4-year-olds, hopefully it's electronically. We are working through the logistics of having that next year. And as was said, strengthening our capacity to ensure that it's analyzed and information is provided in a timely manner. We continue to work with our parents in the virtual space. And as we reopen in terms of face-to-face, to continue within our spaces, we are reorganizing our resource centers. One of the things we're hoping to implement come September, we know that even though more children may be out in September, everybody possibly will not be out, given school sizes and social distancing, physical distancing. We may still need to be physically distant. So what we're hoping to do and what we're putting in place is to ensure that our resource centers, as they're a hub, we have one in each parish, within the parish, but creating spaces that our children with their parents, can I say it again, with their parents, we're not running a daycare center, with their parents to be able to access online internet services, having a desktop available that can be used, couple of desktops available that can be used within our resource centers. So that is that one additional thing we're working towards for September, when we understand, okay, what is happening, how are we opening, how are we gonna be doing both face-to-face and online, because we may not be able to go back to full face-to-face school even September. And so we're making allowances. Okay, if this doesn't happen, then we're creating the spaces and making the different things available so that they can be used by our parents. And that is increasing the numbers of brain builder centers. So we're now at 126. And so we're hoping that we are able to add at least 30 per year. We have put in the budget and request to the Ministry of Education for support. And we welcome, all partnerships as well to support, to increase our numbers, because we want to increase the number of brain builder centers, daycare offerings that are of quality, that are being offered by the government of Jamaica through the Ministry of Education and the ECC. So we're hoping to increase by 30 per year. We continue to develop our learning kits. So what we have done, we have standardized the learning kits for the different age cohort. We have also, we're also in the process of putting our recordings in one place for each age cohort and making that available. So you'll get a terms recording for children 0 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months or whatever it is. So we're putting together those recordings as we put together the learning kits for the different age cohort.
Great, love this, very lovely indeed. And Dr. Tortello, your key takeaways you want us to walk away with?
So I think if you don't remember anything that we have talked about today, other than the fact that 15 minutes of play with a young child is really important for building the whole child, academic, socio-emotional, physical, everything. I would hope that you can remember that. And that play doesn't require any special skills. There's lots of resources online. We can certainly share some of those with you for you to share within your network. I'm sorry for the background noise. There's construction. Also that, play can happen at any time. It doesn't have to be at home always. It can be in the car. You can play I Spy. There's so many. There's another great site, bedtimemath.org, which works for children of all ages and approaches math from a story folk format. And one thing I would like to say too is that, the government, the international development partners like UNICEF, appreciates and values partnerships. So I would like us to eventually one day be in a country where all children have access to play spaces in their communities. That is not the case right now. And the play spaces that we have are few and far between and not accessible. If you're a child with specific developmental challenges, it may be difficult for you to play on some of the playgrounds that exist. If you could find the playground, first of all. So I know we're starting to build them more. We're making strides, but we have a long way to go, and we won't be able to do it without partnerships.
Indeed, partnerships are at the core of what makes everything and the world go round. So I'm going to go ahead now and open up our floor for a brief Q&A. It won't be as long as previously intended, as I do apologize. The information was too rich to cut our ladies in this first part of the discussion. So I'm going to go ahead with the first question that was sent directly to me. And the question, open to either Mrs. Deslandes or Dr. Tortello, states that the socioeconomic conditions do not always fit neatly to facilitate the type of parental bonding as described. How does the substitutes, and they indicate grandparents, helpers, daycare, impact this parental bonding process?
Was that question for me?
Either or.
Well, I think the grandparents are another critical family member. In many cases in Jamaica, grandparents might be living with the core family. So as long as it's a stable, caring adult who's engaging with the child, showing love, affection, focus, attention, positive interaction, early stimulation, then that's all positive. That's all helpful and good.
Right, and this is the Caribbean. The grandparents may be the major adult in the home because the parents are somewhere else. And so, the same resources, the same activities can be done with grandparents. Grandparents love gardening, so take the children outside and, create a garden, create something in a cup, in a tire, in an old pan, in an old something. You can start growing stuff, and children can learn from that process.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies. I have another question here, and this is directed to Mrs. Deslandes. Where are the Brain Builder Centers located?
All right, our Brain Builder Centers are across all parishes. I can send you a listing to circulate.
Thank you.
Across all parishes.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions at this time? I'm checking.
I believe Mrs. Shaw has a few comments or questions.
Thank you, Wendy. Well, there are more comments rather than questions. And like you, Carice, everybody has mentioned how rich the information has been so far. There was particular praise for the mention of the increase in contact with parents through virtual means. Also, the knowledge base is a testimony to the fact that Jamaica has come a long way, has come in advancing the early years focus through key partnerships. And let me see. That was coming from DP Coury out of London, I believe. Also a comment about playing, how very, very important playing is, and how important it is in developing a number of skills in all children. Babies can sense when you're being too distant, so touch is extremely important. And it's also very important to remember and to remind adults, parents dealing with their children, that they need to communicate using real words in order to build the vocabulary, as was mentioned by Dr. Tortello. So, Carice, these were more comments rather than questions, but again, testimony to the very rich discussion from our discussants, Dr. Tortello and Mrs. Deslandes.
Thank you, Paula. So I will encourage anyone.
I may, Carice?
Sure.
Thank you. I have two comments that came to me. I really love this one. It says, I love that ECC is improving as they go along. Their strategy or plans are iterative. They are moving with the time. And a comment from about the information, their resources, are there plans, or they would love to see ECC build out a campaign, a full campaign to talk about their work and the resources that are available to our nation's children, teachers, and parents. And on that last one, I would just like to say that is something that Division 23C hopes to help ECC achieve. Not making any promises, but we are trying. That's it, Carice.
And true to form, Kiwanis is about our partnerships. So I look forward to the support we can provide, no matter what format it may be. I think we all walked away with a lot from this first discussion here. And so I'm going, oh.
I saw a hand from Corey. Is he still interested in asking a question?
No LG.
Okay.
Debbie. All questions answers. All
questions. Great. Great, DP Corey.
Okay, so Rebecca, talk to.
Yes, I had my hand up. Thank you. I just wanted to also share that another initiative we've been working on, the ECC has partnered with us on, and we would love the Kiwanis Club throughout the island, if possible, to participate with us, is something that we call Play Day JA. So like Read Across Jamaica Day, what we want to see, which has really highlighted reading, not just on that particular day, but how important it is to take time to read with your child and encourage your child to read, to have your child see you reading. The same thing is true with play. So we've been doing Play Day. We've been trying to find a home for it. You know, we've tried Child Month, we've tried Youth Month, we've tried International Children's Day. And we think we found a home, which is the first Tuesday in February, which is Global Schools Play Day. We were able to hold it last year just before the pandemic because, you know, schools closed in March. And we have every year that we do Play Day, we work with our partners to encourage people to visit schools, just like Read Across Jamaica Day, and play. Some people will donate items to the schools, but it encourages the teachers. It reminds the teachers how important it is to build play. It reminds them about game-based curriculum that's available, linked to the ministry's website, the EduSport curriculum, which is another rural NGO that has focused on game-based sports for development, game-based lessons that build life skills into PE classes, which UNICEF has also supported and is just about scaling up in the system, and also includes games for the early childhood level. So we will share all those resources, and when Play Day rolls around again, we hope that you all will be willing to participate and encourage participation, because teachers have been responding. Every year it gets better and better. People respond, students respond, parents respond. Parents visit for Play Day and play ring games, for example, with the children. And we want to see it become like Read Across Jamaica Day, where it becomes a fixture on our calendar.
Nice. Well, if there's anything we can do, LG, is that we make a stir, right?
All right. I love it.
So we'll definitely play along and play that day for sure.
I'm on board. I'm on board.
All right. So what I'm going to allow for is a little bit of a break. And we've got some very wonderful entertainment for you. We do have Ngozi and Tafari right with us to inspire us with a little bit of dub poetry. So let us take them in, and then we'll move into the second half of our discussion.
Mr. Wright, Amal, we are ready for you.
Greetings. We are right here. We are right here.
Okay, wonderful. We can see you now.
Right.
They are on the move.
All right, so we're on a video shoot, but we're going to have them perform right now. Take a moment. Huh? Ngozi, You're on Zoom live. Ready?
Loud the kids made them grow, not yesterday. A little hip start strong. Loud the kids them alone, see them on the street, made them go on back home. Loud the kids made them grow, not yesterday. A little hip start strong. Loud the kids them alone, see them on the street, made them go on back home. Prince and princess, kings and queens. Oh, them can't find Jasmine Dean. 300 murder, rank driving. The year just start and a be a crime scene. Government focus COVID-19. That toll keep on rising. We have a choice. Who up wanna listen? Every day, children are missing. Loud the kids make them grow, not yesterday. A little hip start strong. Loud the kids them alone, see them on the street, make them go on back home.
Pull up, yeah.
Take care of your kids them. Take care of your children. Oh, you put the dance and a party on. And your children are super light down. Take care of your kids them. Take care of your children. Oh, you put the dance and a party on. And your children are super light down.
Next now.
You are worried about makeup and ear on the head and your picnic shoes are bed breads. You are worried about makeup and ear on your head and your picnic shoes are bed breads.
One drop.
You are worried how your shoes look and you them on a school book. Plastic bags are your slogan and you them the fun dog program. Take care of your kids then. Take care of your children. Oh, you see the dance and a party on. And your children are super light down. Good luck!
Give them a piece of dub poetry. Let's build.
Let's build a safe for Jamaica. No pedophile pervert raper. Let's build a safe for Jamaica. No pedophile pervert raper.
Hey, big man.
Hey, big man, love the little picnic. Come with the sweetie, you can't trick me. Take your old car and go on where you a go. Pervert, me no wanna drive from you. Pervert, me no wanna drive from you. God's gift to mankind, little children. Stars where you shine, don't kill them. Murderer! You a go burn in the hell. You touch a little picnic, me I go tell. Kids don't talk to no stranger. Run and dream in a danger. From your earth children, electric.
Oh. You're muted, Mr. Wright.
Hey, big man, love the little picnic.
Pull up, 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 pull up.
Pull up, pull up, pull up. Thank you so much, Ngozi Tafari. We have to take care of the children because we can't have you sing that every day. Love it, love it. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your shoot and have a blessed day.
Yeah, man, love and blessings.
Bye. They talked the truth and they didn't hold back. I love it. Refreshing. Those girls are something else. If I could have a little bit of the talent in their pinky finger, boy. So we'll move ahead into speaking with our second set of panelists. And of course, I will tell you a little bit about them before we start. But indeed, yeah, man, we had to pull up. We love it. Super, super thank you to Ngozi and Tafari. If Mr. Wright can even still hear us or feel us, we felt the energy and we were inspired. So now I have the pleasure of bringing to you Mr. Dennis Bell and Mrs. Kamisha Swaby. Mr. Dennis Bell is a software developer consultant with over a decade of experience working with local and international companies. Dennis is inspired daily by his daughter, and in his free time, he enjoys traveling, reading, swimming, and riding. Progress over perfection is his personal motto. Mrs. Swaby is a passionate advocate for social policy, advocacy, culture, and education, and has deployed her skills and expertise in both the public and private sector. She is a board member of the Early Childhood Commission, co-director of Corp Care Social Impact Consultants Limited, also an assistant lecturer in the Department of Government at UWI-Mona, and she's a consultant and former co-host at Nationwide Radio. She has over 13 years experience as a trained youth advocate, having worked with several organizations to implement youth-focused programs. And right now, Mrs. Swaby is currently a PhD candidate in public policy at UWI-Mona and hopes to inspire others to step into their power and do their part to serve their wider community. I welcome both Mr. Bell and Mrs. Swaby to our second segment of our discussion today. Mr. Bell, Mrs. Swaby, welcome, welcome.
Moderator Carice, I think Mr. Bell is here.
Hello, hello,
Mrs.
everyone.
Swaby isn't
Hello,
on
Mr.
as
Bell.
yet.
Oh, Mrs. Swaby is not on as well. Well, we'll greet her again.
Not yet. She'll be on shortly.
Sure, not a problem. I'm okay with starting with Mr. Bell. So, Mr. Bell, I'm just going to go right into it because we are, of course, as you know, running a little bit short on time, but I want to ensure that other parents like you who are in this session get as much as they can from this discussion. So, of course, I'm going to start with the easiest question. Tell us a little bit about your daughter.
All right. I mean, I'm not sure if you mind me. I created a small presentation. Do you mind if I just do that? Because it includes a few things that
You'd like to share?
Yes, I would like to
Not
share.
a problem.
Yes, it also includes that,
That question.
Right. So I'll go ahead and share.
Wendy, if you could give him the privilege, if he doesn't have it just yet.
But just a quick overview, though, of my daughter. She's 4 years old, and she does all the things that 4-year-olds would do. Give a lot of trouble. Very curious and talkative and so on. But when you share the give me permissions to share, I can dive in a little bit deeper.
Sure.
One moment, please. Can I have some assistance from the tech team with that?
Yeah, we're trying to find him.
Right, that's the trouble.
Belde. He's Belde. He might be showing up as Belde right now.
Okay.
Don't look for Dennis.
Okay. Oh, I see.
You see now? Perfect.
Yeah. And Mrs. Swaby is here.
Welcome, Mrs. Swaby. So glad to have you. You missed my very robust introduction, but I hope you felt the warmth from wherever you were while you were logging in.
Is everybody seeing the screen?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are now.
All right, so I just created a brief presentation to show how I've put in some various things in place to manage all the challenges that have come along with COVID-19. All right. So this is the title of the presentation, Emilia Bell and COVID-19. Of course, my daughter's name is Emilia Bell, so I'll answer the question now. So maybe this is in the way, let me minimize. All right, so Emilia is 4 years old, right? She loves to watch Peppa Pig. I mean, majority of parents will be familiar with that cartoon, and if you have children this age, occasionally pranks her parents, very outspoken, and she loves to learn, right? So now I'll go into a few of the things that I have researched, specifically the effects of COVID-19 on the mental health of children. So just like us, the kids are affected by quarantine, not being able to see friends, etc. They have the same issues that adults do. The issue is that they don't know how to manage those issues. So we know that if we're not seeing our friends, we can always, find means of, reaching out and contacting them. They don't know how to do that. They are too young. They don't understand, right? And there are a myriad of other issues as well. So as you can see here on the slide, there's difficulty concentrating, boredom, irritability, restlessness, nervousness, loneliness, uneasiness. Also, most parents themselves are stressed, because the children are stressed, right? I'm sure a lot of us can relate as parents, right? So So now I'll get into some of the things that I have been doing to ensure that the mental health of my child is, is maintained, right? So I encourage all parents, give me 1 second. She's on the tablet, just one moment. Sorry, right. So bicycle riding, right? So I am a cyclist, so naturally I am going to want to bring my child, into that type of activity as well. So I've started her riding, as you can see here, right? Riding does a lot of things. Of course, it improves your fitness, boosts your positive mental attitude, right? Interaction improves your bond with toddlers. So doing this activity, my bond with her is improving. And you're introducing a healthy activity to your child, and these type of things tend to last with them for a lifetime, right? And health is wealth. So these type of things are very important to introduce at an early age, right? The next thing is, and by the way, this is an inexpensive activity, so anybody can do this. Bicycles are fairly cheap. You can just go and buy one. If there are sometimes people that have, I'm sure people know people that probably have old bicycles that they have outgrown. You can always get one, get your child on it. It doesn't matter about the type of bicycle that you're riding. That's not really the point. The point really is to get the child outside, get them doing an activity, right? And the bicycle just needs to be moving. You don't even need pedals, just need some wheels, All right, so swimming. So a little background with this. So I recently learned to swim. I mean, I still can't even swim that well, but I know enough that I can splash around, and I've been teaching my child that, right? The swimming has its many benefits too. It teaches water safety, right? So if you're, in these times we are going to hotels and so on, right? So it's good to know that if your child drop in the pool, they will be fine, right? So that's a big plus for swimming. That's actually the reason why I do it. One of the primary reasons, right? So provides physical exercise. It's good to always get them out there and get them, get the energy drained, right? So that you can have a break. Aids cardiovascular health, strengthens lungs, improves endurance, and builds muscle, aids digestion, improves sleep. Swimming is just an overall good activity. One of the things that is here that isn't here is that it's actually a very relaxing activity. Right, so I think I can play this and you just see her splashing around and so on. Right. This is also not expensive at all. It is $300 to use the pool. I go by Stella Morris here in the Constant Spring area where I live. So it's really not expensive at all. So I know folks may be concerned about probably getting somebody to teach a child to swim and so on. Even if you do not know how to swim, you can just take her there, get some flotation device, put them in the water and let them swim. It's not challenge. It's not, there's no barrier to doing these activities. I thought so at one point, and then just by inquiring, I found out that these things are not really expensive at all. All right. All right. So the next activity, give me a moment. Present. Sure. All right. So this activity here is I recently started her in this, particularly because of COVID and for other reasons as well, which I'll get into. So she has started karate, and with that comes a lot of benefits. Discipline, right? More focused, right? So one of the points here is that it emphasizes the use of self-control and concentration, right? Routines, routines are broken down into chunks. So that shows the child how to manage tasks, right? If you have a large amount of things to do, break them down, right, into various steps and get them done, right? So these are soft skills that are essential for life. The kids work towards specific goals, right? So you have belts, you have different belts, white belt, brown belt, all manner of color kind of belts. So, these help her to actually know that she can, progress, do an activity and progress and get better, and that she needs to work hard. So karate does a lot of that, does all these things. This is a little bit more costly, but it's really not that bad, right? But this is I have found a class and the class is excellent, and I'm getting my benefits. And she hasn't been attending really long. It's probably about 3 weeks, and I'm seeing the benefits already. Right. So other bonding activities, right? So we sometimes draw together, watch movies together, run errands together, go to the zoo. That was when it was, open. I think it is at this time though. And also just being present, right? So we can't downplay that. You just being there as a parent, and I don't mean you doing your own thing and them doing their own thing, right? Be you being there, interacting with them, speaking with them. And a very important point was raised earlier. I don't recall the name of the doctor. I think it's Tartella. She had raised the point that you cannot speak to children like they're babies, right? So when you're interacting with them, they ask a question, answer them, break if it's a complex response that you need to give them, break it down, right? But don't answer like they are babies or that they, goo goo gaga type of stuff. That doesn't help them, right? Right, and in conclusion, with my presentation, I want to leave this quote. So there's only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of your will, right? So COVID is beyond our control. There's nothing we can do about it. It it's a disease. These things happen, every century or so. It happened this time, it will happen again, The most we can do is take control of the things that we have control of, right? And not worry about the things that we don't. Right, so that's it for my presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. I love how you closed that out. And thank you for showcasing Emilia. I'm sure somewhere out there, she's probably going to be a couple of years from now, Dad, you did what? But we'll let her know that none of the material was embarrassing and it was wonderful.
Right.
I have 3 quick questions just to follow up with that. And don't go anywhere after I ask these 3 questions, because of course, Ms. Soibi is going to present and then we'll have our official Q&A. But you were here for the first half of the discussion, and I just wanted to know, is there anything from that discussion that resonated with you as a parent?
Definitely. I think what resonated with me the most was the play, right? You need to play with your children. As a matter of fact, in the animal kingdom, if you have cats, etc., you notice that the mother cat is always playing with the kids, either with the tail, etc. And these are very important skills because they need to learn how to hunt, etc. Right? So it's a similar thing for us as humans where we need to play. The problem is that a lot of us see that, we just say if we're at a certain age, then we can't play anymore. Playing it's below us. Right? No, you always need to play. You always need to have fun, irrespective of your age, right? Especially when you have kids, because just like the cat, you need to teach them, right? Because it's doing a lot more than what you think it's doing, right? So it's challenging. It was challenging. Well, not so much for me because I'm a playful person, but I see where it can be a challenge, and that's one of the things that really stuck out, to me in terms of previous comments in the presentation.
And my second question, what would be your top 2 tips for parents who have children up to 2 years old at this time? What are your top 2 tips? You already gave us play, so you have to give me 2 others.
Other teams, family support. You need family support, right? Family doesn't necessarily mean blood relatives, right? You can get support from anybody, right? But you need support. You need support with young children. You can't do it alone. It's not you can't just do it by yourself. Very challenging, right? So it's not a job for you, and no one should ever take up that responsibility and say, well, I must just do this by myself. No. Try to get assistance. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There is always help. There's always a way, right? So that's one. You need another one, right?
Yes.
Be present, be there, and it's not hard. Just be there, right? Be there for the child, and do what you can. And where you have gaps, you seek assistance. As I said, assistance is always there. None of us are perfect, right? All of us are unique individuals, with unique backgrounds and so on, so each of us have to learn to be a parent, right? So yeah, that's it for me really in terms of advice.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bell. And just stay with
No
us.
problem.
I am now going to invite Mrs. Swaby to make her presentation. And as she sets up her presentation, I'm going to remind everyone that you can leave questions in the chat. We are moderating the chat. So if you have any questions for Mr. Bell and Mrs. Swaby, please feel free to leave them. After the presentations, we will go to them for the Q&A. So Mrs. Swaby, welcome.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy I was here for Mr. Bell's presentation because he gave me a little bit of insight into some of the things that were said earlier, but also I just love everything that he's doing with his daughter. And I hope that Michelle and Paula would have let you know that my excuse was actually a very good one. It was because Alexander was having a play date. That's why I was not able to join you for the entire time, but also that's why I'm doing the presentation from the car. So I am going to jump into it. Share screen, 1 second. Here we go. That's the one. Okay. Are you seeing it? Because I'm not sure.
Yes, I'm seeing it. You can just put it into a slideshow.
Awesome. Good.
All right. Yes, good.
Right. So my presentation is just going to talk about preparing the child, prioritizing early stimulation and independence from the very beginning. So my Alexander, and I share him with my husband, Gordon Swaby. And we decided, I think, on our philosophy of parenting because we reflected on our own experiences growing up. Both of us are from families where, as adults now, our parents have been married for over 35 years. And we have siblings. Gordon has 2 brothers. I have 1 brother. Childhood memories for us are very, very pleasant. I mean, even though we're from different socioeconomic backgrounds. So Gordon grew up middle class, I grew up poor. So my mother would work as a janitor or a helper for most of her life. And my father would have done several things. At one point in time, he was a taxi driver. He worked on the Canadian Farm Work Program. And I'm always so proud of him because it's out of that he built his house and so on. So, you know, just different childhood experiences, but each one so good in our minds. And when we got pregnant, we talked about how we wanted to raise our son. And we knew that we had to think through what our roles were. Of course, one of the most important things that you do as a parent is guiding your child, directing them through this world, because you are given this awesome responsibility to facilitate the growth and development of a tiny human into an adult person. We see ourselves as the link between the environment and the child. Everywhere we read, you know, the literature tells us that children are products of their environment. And so we have a responsibility to ensure that we prepare the environment for him as best as we can. And we interpret a lot of things that are happening in the environment, in the physical environment, the social, the cultural environment for him. And of course, the very, very important roles of being provider, protector, and nurturer. Alexander is now 9 months old. Sorry, yes. Alexander is now 9 months old. And from the very beginning, we started to learn about how he is going to be developing, how his senses will develop, and so on. And that's when I found myself deep diving into the philosophy of Montessori education. But I wanted to ensure that whatever I was exposing Alexander to was also culturally relevant for us growing up in Jamaica, in the Caribbean. One of the things I learned was that in utero, the least stimulated sense for babies is really their vision. And so when I came home from the hospital with Alexander, we spent 5 days. On day 6, I started with visual stimulation cards for him using high contrast material because babies can't see very clearly when they're just born. And so it's important to have high contrast material that they can see. At first, it will be a little bit fuzzy, and over time, the vision will start to develop and they will be inclined to focus on these materials. We always saw Alexander spending long stretches just looking at the black and white materials, and we would have conversations with him sometimes because we also wanted to respect him. And a part of respecting him is understanding that a lot of times when we think babies are just playing, it's important to understand that that's their work. And just as how we would not want a lot of persons to talk to us and to be distracting us and talking through every single thing that we're doing when we're working, babies actually need to have that sort of respect as well. And sometimes we can confuse them and interrupt their thought process and their development by doing too much talking. Some, of course, is very important because it's important for their language development. But once we see that the child is in a flow and they're focused on something, we can sort of step back because we've introduced them to the environment. We've seen that they have taken the step and they're helping themselves through it. So yes, so we did the black and white. We also used these materials in tummy time for Alexander. He did not like tummy time in the beginning. I think that's a thing with most babies. But we saw improvements when I started putting the black and white materials in front of him, and he would start to just focus on those. Floor time is very, very important as well in our household, even to this day. And we really made sure that we got down on his level. Getting down on his level was not only to play with him, but also to talk to him. And so we could make eye contact when we were speaking to him. And that was a lot of fun. In terms of activities to engage him, a basket of balls was what encouraged him to move forward because he was very, very interested in getting the basket and just spilling out the balls. And, he learned cause and effect too that way because he knew if I tip the basket, the balls flow out and so on. And so that's a very, very cost-effective activity as well. But even more, the basket in the bottom right, that is literally just some things from the kitchen which were safe for him to mouth and play with. Nothing there can really harm him. And they also made a good bit of noise. So he enjoyed exploring that. There is a tray in the center of the screen with some wooden material. And one of the things that I learned about early childhood development as well is something called heuristic play, where you're introducing children to material in their natural state. So wood is one of the most natural things we can find. And I could just look around the house and I found lots of wooden items that we had, whether we had them in the kitchen, so like the rolling pin is there, a wooden spatula, and then there were some small items that we had gotten for Alexander. Some were given to us as gifts, and I also used those. And listen, that tray was about an hour's worth of exploration and learning for Alexander, and he could just do that by himself because I had set it up and it was safe for him to explore. It's important too that we go outside together. And I heard the dad before me mention that. So let's go from left to right. One of the things I have set up there is actually called a language basket. So we have some cards that have pictures and they're textured as well, so he can touch them. But I think it's also important that we show children the real things. So the picture is a very realistic representation. It's not any cartoonized one. And I put it in a basket and I got some actual leaves from outside to allow Alexander to see, to touch, to explore. And of course, the language development would have come because we kept on talking about leaf. The leaf is green, etc. So he would start to build the association. An important thing that happened when we're doing this activity, because we did it outside too, my mom was there and she was seeing me do the activity. And I kept on taking the leaves from Alexander because he was trying to mouth them. And my mother said to me, give him a lettuce leaf because that is safe to mouth. And so we got a lettuce leaf and we could continue the activity. He had something to mouth and he was still able to have the sensory experience of touching the other leaves. Additionally, as we walk around the yard, different things that are safe to touch and out in nature, I allow him to explore. So when the mangoes were coming in, you know, he had a good time touching mango, hearing about mango, picking his own mango sometimes too, and cherries. The third photo is Alexander in a bath of water with the plastic cups that are his toys. And listen, this is not a pool because we don't have a pool at home. However, every family in Jamaica, I believe, has at least one basin, and you can put baby in a swim diaper or put them out there without clothes and allow them to have just a great sensory experience outside in the water. We are happy that we were able to go to the zoo and he had the experience of, you know, trying to touch a pony. He did touch a pony, and I thought that he would be a little scared, but in fact, he was just brave. Maybe I was the one more nervous than him. And he kept his eyes open for the entire 90 minutes that we walked and explored the zoo. And that was just great sensory activity and learning time for him. Additional, if one of the most important things I would say to any parent is to schedule time for your child. We live in a world where it's very, very busy. There's so many competing things on our time, and we don't always get to do the play that we want to do with our children, but it is important that we prioritize it. And a part of prioritizing it is actually putting it in your calendar and treating it as very, very important. When we have our meetings or hair appointments, nail appointments, doctor's appointments, and so on, we treat them, or if we're going to church, we treat them as very, very important. And I think we should do the same with our children. Schedule time. There is a slot in my calendar on every weekday that hour is dedicated solely to my son. And of course, I also do the bath time and bedtime routine includes Gordon, my husband. So it's a team effort. But you know, there are lots of simple activities that I have been able to set up during this time. Beginning again, left to right, I just taped some wooden rings to the wall because Alexander was sitting up at this time and we wanted to encourage the standing development. So that includes learning to reach up. And so he was able to reach up and pull the rings off the wall with the tape. We got a crawling tunnel, relatively inexpensive, to be honest, via Amazon. And he enjoys just going in and out of that. So it's great fun for us. And that has also encouraged him to crawl. And then another basket for you. I use a lot of baskets in setting up play for Alexander. It was Earth Day on this day, and I wanted, you know, to expose him to some textures, some Jamaican fruits and so on. And so we could also have conversation and he could explore. And in the basket was a papaya. I picked a mango from outside. There was a soursop on my tree as well, and the soursop was ready. So I picked the soursop and he had a good time sitting. The mango is smooth. The soursop is prickly, that sort of thing. And of course, because he has eaten mangoes before, he tried to take up the mango and bite it. He still does not have any teeth though. Additionally, one of the things I would say to parents is allow your child to do what they are capable of. It's very easy for us to think that once let's say you've done the breastfeeding or you had to feed from a bottle, that we must continue to do that beyond the time where the child is able to do it themselves. The moment you see that a child is able to do something and they're interested in doing it independently, I think we should encourage it. So for Alexander, we started to see that he wanted to feed himself. And so we learned about baby-led weaning. We didn't do all of it all the time, but we did quite a bit of it. One of the things I learned is about how to cut bananas. So soft foods, so he didn't have to just get purees. Soft foods that he could mash with his gums. We introduced a number of those, but it's about ensuring that the grasp, the way the food is cut or designed, that they can hold it. So banana is a good one, so you give him a half. But if it's too soft and slippery, he won't be able to manage that. And so always cut it and leave a little skin on it so he can hold, and he's able to do that by himself. And this one, the audio is in it. That's Alexander with his broccoli. and no siren could stop him from eating his broccoli. So just steam it soft enough and give baby to hold, and he will just mash it and eat it. And yeah, he feeds himself his bottle and his mango. His first mango is actually captured in this photo. I gave him in a bath of water outside because cleanup was a consideration. Also on independence, we introduced an open cup at 6 months, not with any liquid in it, but the open cup use is very, very important for children because it also teaches them it also helps with their oral development, so the tongue skills and so on, which is good for talking, right? So we introduced an open cup, and Alexander is able to feed himself water, a little juice, and so on his own. And he has been able to do that, I would say, from the time he was 7-8 months.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Good.
So I was gonna take the cup because I saw him coughing. He was fine, but he said, "No, I'm not finished, and I've got this." So I left him with his cup so he could finish feeding himself. Okay, allow exploration outside is another tip. I sat Alexander in the grass and he would, touch. Of course, you have to supervise so he doesn't put anything that you don't want him to put in his mouth, but that's also very, very important for children, just that outside time. Prepare the environment. So of course, we always see a lot of people using walkers and so on. I got one as well for Alexander because I thought I would need it, but actually I don't. So we got a dowel and made a pull-up bar for Alexander, and that is how he has started to stand, put himself up to stand. Cruising and so on happened right after that, because once we prepare the environment and it's safe for baby, their skills will develop. So we just have a responsibility to prepare a great environment for them. We limit screen time. Alexander does not watch cartoons. We don't have any plans of doing that until he gets to 2 years old. And how can you do that? Parents, it's not about all the toys. This is Alexander, who spent about 20 minutes opening and closing the kitchen cupboard door or pulling the stuff that was safe. So they're big pans and so on, not heavy. Plastic and some metal pans that we'd use in food prep. He can throw those out, bang them on the floor. It's safe for him to work at that cabinet. And also facilitate play. It doesn't have to be all the toys. Look at these two simple activities. First one is a tray with ice, right? And again, you get an opportunity to talk to your child through these activities. Ice, he's seeing it change and melt. He understands what is cold now and so on. And he had a fantastic time just splashing around. But you see, this second activity, Alexander spent that Saturday afternoon over an hour playing with a spoon and a pot, banging it and making all the noise his little body could make. And also a little mess is good. You look around your house and you can set up some safe activities. I had some yogurt and I used some food coloring to make taste safe paint for Alexander. The potatoes, I think I was just overly ambitious because I thought he could do stamping or so on, but he was not interested. He simply wanted to use his hands to make the marks and paint and put some of it in his mouth, and he had a great time. I laid out some brown paper, the same paper that we use to wrap up books. I just laid that out on the play mat, and then as soon as he was finished, I could roll all of it up and throw it away. But of course, you take a picture because the memories are important, and he had just made his artwork. Finally, lots of books. We read a lot, that's Gordon and I, and so we've also introduced Alexander to quite a number of books. Bedtime routine includes reading, and also throughout the day, we read to him as well. Thankfully, we are able to have some support just because of the nature of our work. We really need support, and we have a great nanny who also reads to Alexander quite a bit. He has now taken an interest in books himself and turning the pages, and we encourage that because we like to see it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Kemisha Swaby, and I've been at Montessori Caribbean. But trust me, the early years development, once you get that early stimulation right, you are setting your child up for a wonderful future. It's important to teach them to be critical thinkers, teach them to be curious, and encourage them to have a love of learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Swaby. That was so thorough. My first thoughts are floor time, tummy time. When is the next play date? I think we all need Am I the only one? I was like, wait, what is that? We can make a mess? I need to make a mess.
You can make a mess.
I make a good mess.
Yes.
That is great. But a lot of good things came out of there that really resonated. Again, the messages from Mr. Bell as well was to be present, having support, because you do have Mr. Gordon Swaby there to assist you in this. Allowing them to play. Play is so important in development of the whole child. Mm-hmm. And being outdoors is also a part of it, and allowing them to explore. And if you have to scheduling that time, great takeaways for this early 1,000 days development of the child. So what I'm going to allow now is to open up the floor to questions, because I'm sure people have a few questions here. If not questions, just comments. And if there are questions later, of course, I will forward them to you, Mrs. Swaby and Mr. Bell, for you to answer for us so that we can share at another time. So I'm going to reach out to Paula now. Paula, how was the chat?
Hi, Carisia. Again, people were saying how much they were enjoying the sessions. I love it. They took notes. They thought that both presentations from Mr. Bell and Mrs. Swaby were excellent. They were fantastic. And the mention was made of the fact that Alexander has a good life ahead, excellent parenting, and I'm sure we can say the same for Amelia. Yes, congratulations to the both of you. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. So we don't have any questions.
No actual questions, just glowing commendations.
All right, so I'm going to therefore close our discussion segments here for Mrs. Swaby and Mr. Bell, and thank them once again for sharing with us. We are highly appreciative, and we are jealous of your children. If only we could be reincarnated.
Moderator,
and wish you both the best. Oh, wait.
I am jealous. I am jealous of my child as well.
Moderator Therese, may I? Before
yes,
they go there's a question. Someone is interested in the Montessori concept. I believe that question is for Mrs. Swaby.
Oh, sure. Moderator, can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So Montessori is an education philosophy that was developed by Dr. Maria Montessori. She was an Italian doctor turned educator. And actually, while now across the world, Montessori schools are quite expensive because of the materials, the approach really started because she was teaching poorer children and using natural materials. Montessori philosophy focuses a lot on following your child, so observing what they're interested in and supporting that. It does not use a lot of light up toys, which really a lot of times they're more entertaining the child rather than encouraging the child to be curious about how the material works. It encourages a lot of respect for the child, seeing the child as a little human being, not just, I don't know, because sometimes people, you know, I heard the mention of, you know, not doing the Google gag and so on. It's just having conversations, respecting the child, understanding that as small as they are, their brains are brilliant. We're just facilitating their development and allowing them to be able to make choices and facilitating their independence. Now, Gordon grew up, and he'd be fine with me sharing this. When he was growing up, he learned to read very late. But not very, maybe he learned to read when he was 6, 7, you know, other persons were reading already. And he felt compared a lot He learned to tie shoes late and so on. But what was happening really, as we reflect, it was just not understanding how he was developing and how to encourage that development. On the flip side, I was the bright girl. I came first in every class from grade 1 to grade 11. And what happened for me was that my identity was tied to just being bright. So when I would have met with my first brush of failure at university, it was devastating. So in our reflection, so and by the way, I wasn't failing. It was the first time at university, was the first time I got a 50%, and I felt like I was going to die and it was the end of the world. Anyway, when we discussed what we wanted to do for our child, we knew we wanted to encourage independent thinking. We knew we wanted to not compare him to anybody else because we knew that he was going to be developing on his own, and every child develops at their own pace. So we just need to facilitate that development. We knew we wanted him to be treated with respect, and we knew we wanted him to be willing to figure his way out of many things, not tie his identity to being good boy, but just learning. And so that is why we embrace the Montessori philosophy. In our home now, we are continuing to learn how to prepare the environment to facilitate Alexander's development so he can have free movement in the home, which means that a lot of things have to be moved up to a higher shelf to facilitate him moving freely and exploring without us having to say, oh no, don't go there, da, 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 da. And also we give him choice. We started giving him choices when he was 9 months. So in terms of what he wears, and it might seem like a simple thing, but executive function, making choices is something that's very important. And Gordon runs a company. So as an entrepreneur, executive function is important to him. And I'm a little different because I need all the information before I make the decision. So we want to encourage executive function too. And so I will hold up 2 things for him, 2 onesies, and I say, okay, Alexander, which one do you want to wear today? And whichever one he touches, he's beginning to learn that if I touch that one, that's the one that I'm going to end up wearing. So we're encouraging that. We don't do screen time for him right now. While we understand, we don't judge, we respect that some parents may have to do it because screen time allows parents to get a break sometimes, and that too is absolutely necessary. But we don't do screen time for him. We facilitate just a number of activities. We don't have light up toys, for example. Everything he has to manipulate. So instead of the toy being battery operated, we see all his toys as being baby operated. He has to figure out how to make them do something that's very interesting. And that really is how we have been incorporating the Montessori philosophy of education into our home to try to raise a critical thinker, an independent child. But that also, by the way, includes us allowing him to use an open cup from very early. He is right now feeding himself. If you give him a spoon, if you load the spoon, he will feed, he will take it to his mouth. But otherwise, you give him a plate and he's going to put his hand in and he knows, okay, everything goes right to my mouth. And just allowing him freedom to be and to explore and treating him with respect.
Awesome. Well said. Well said. And I do have a question here for Mr. Bell. Let me just make sure I read it correctly. Mr. Bell, would your strategies change if you had a son?
Not much. Where play is concerned, to be honest with you. I would still employ the same strategies. I would still do the same thing. I would probably the bond would be even stronger because I'm a male and he's a boy. So, not saying that the bond between my daughter isn't strong, but just by the fact that we're the same gender, I possibly would. But I wouldn't change anything. If anything, it would intensify.
Oh, that poor son. Good thing.
Right. Yeah.
Be glad, Emilia.
Yeah. So he would be running and riding and swimming and everything.
All right.
I hope I answered the question.
Yes. Because I think generally some persons believe that, your strategies have to be tied to the sex or gender of your child. And so they're wondering if there are any things that you have done so far in raising Emilia that you would specifically no longer do if you had a son. But I think you correctly stated that your strategies, which especially surround play, are consistent and probably would only intensify because of the natural bond a father would have with their son. if I may say so.
That is exactly what I am saying. And I mean, I just want to mention, what Kemisha discussed earlier, Mrs. Swaby. What is the Montessori theory and other things that she had mentioned that she's doing is excellent. Excellent. And some of these things, I think majority of them can still be used, for even older children. Some of these techniques I will begin using because it is excellent information. I love the presentation, right? And a lot of these things have nothing to do with gender, right? Gender neutral. So boy or girl, right? If they're not sure what their gender is, especially in this time, you can still employ these strategies. All right.
Nice.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if possible, I'm sure we'll discuss off screen with Mrs. Swaby what information she's willing to share and resources as well, because I'm sure more people would like to look into that theory of child development a bit more. So I'll ask what she's comfortable with sharing. And same with you, Mr. Bell, the activities and stuff, if you're willing to share with our network, because I know people have been writing furiously. I was. And so once again, fantastic presentation. So I'm just going to wrap up our discussion segment here today by saying a couple of quick reminders. If there's anything that you want to walk away with today, is play, 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 play. 15 minutes alone a day seems to be a wonderful starting point to developing your whole child. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Seek support where you can. It doesn't have to be a traditional format of help. Family is not, of course, defined by blood, which I loved that Mr. Bell had said. Be present. Mrs. Swaby said, make the time. You schedule for your nails, you schedule for your hair, you schedule for your barber lineup, you can schedule for your child. Be present. I also want to encourage everyone to check out both the ECC and the UNICEF website for resources and articles and materials regarding the first 1,000 days. I think we've learned that there is so much happening right now in Jamaica in terms of the ECC trying to support and reach and engage parents and children between the ages of 0 to 3. So don't be shy about reaching out and researching. It doesn't make you any lesser of a parent or a guardian. Everyone needs help. To keep in mind these 3 areas the ECC thinks we should really be looking at for our children is their nutrition, their stimulation, and their protection. I mean, Ngozi and Tafari both said it well, take care of your children. And our children is Jamaica's children, and we are the village that can raise these children. So I hope that everyone had a splendid time taking in the information from both Dr. Tortello, Mrs. Deslantes, Mr. Bell, and Mrs. Swaby. I am your moderator, Carice. I am signing off and returning the baton to your Masters of Ceremonies, Dane. Have a good afternoon.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you so much, Carice. Thank you so much, Paula. I can tell you this much. I have learned so much. I began taking notes. At the beginning of the various presentations, both from the panelists and from both parents. And I too want to say, by the way, congratulations to both parents. Congratulations to Mr. Bell, and also congratulations to Mrs. Swaby. I mean, it is so awesome. And just want to, and I know everyone who has been a part of this program today, there's so much takeaway. And so at this point in time, I will, without any further ado, I'm going to invite our distinguished secretary, Raquel Blackwood, to actually come and give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremony. As time has been far spent, but well spent, I will move very quickly through the vote of thanks. It really is my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks. We say that often and it sounds cliche, but honestly, it is my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks. To our Master of Ceremony, distinguished President Dane McLean, thank you for being a trooper, remaining calm and ably guiding the day's proceedings despite several challenges with technology. Thank you, District Governor Dolores Lewis, for gracing us with your presence and delivering an inspiring greeting. Governor, your mere presence here speaks volumes. To our Lieutenant Governor, Deborah Manning, for her pleasant and thought-provoking greeting. Additionally, we want to recognize your unstinting commitment to bring focus to the importance of investing well in early childhood development, particularly the first 1,000 days. Moreover, your rock-solid support and guidance in the organization of this forum is appreciated. Utmost thanks to our panelists, Mrs. Carlene Deslandes and Dr. Rebecca Tortello, for having spared time to reveal interesting and important research, deep insight on the topic, and in such a clear manner. I've had the privilege of working with our panelists, and I have seen firsthand their fervor as advocates for children and adolescents. Furthermore, we express thanks for all that you have invested in creating policies, building systems, shaping and implementing interventions, all for the benefit of our children, parents, caregivers, and teachers. To our parents, Mrs. Kamisha Swebe and Mr. Dennis Bell, you heard the comments that were read from the chat, the glowing comments, but sincere comments. We thank you for using time that could have been spent with your precious ones, with your family, to enlighten us on simple and very effective strategies to shape a child's development. You shared so openly. We are inspired and encouraged. Please don't stop what you're doing, and please continue to share the excellent work that you are doing, because we want other parents to adopt many of the strategies that you have employed so far. Moderators, Carice and Paula, your ability to pose the questions in such a clear, concise way and keen attention to the chat played a significant role in ensuring that we got so much information out of the discussion. Ngozi and Tafari, they delighted us with their song and dub poem. At such a tender age, they are able to cause change with their talent. We salute them as young advocates and future policy and lawmakers of our country. To their parents, thank you for accommodating us on what was a very packed day for you. There is no forum without an audience, and so to our audience, you have been so attentive and gracious. We look forward to answering the questions that you have posed that we did not get to answer today, and we will, as much as possible, share the resources and whatever other information we find pertinent. To the division's PR team, specifically, Carice Harris and Ramona Morgan, in partnership with Dane McLean and Roxanne Lewis from the Committee for Early Childhood Development, for giving so willingly of their time and talent to organize everything leading up to today. I could not have organized this forum without your attention to detail, constructive input, and ongoing support. Tech support cannot be overlooked, so dear Sandra and the team who weathered the challenges, thank you for sticking with it and making the forum possible. Lastly, I want to thank somebody who is not here today, but had a huge role in organizing this forum, and that is Miss Michelle Campbell, Director for Cross-Sectorial Coordination at the Early Childhood Commission. Talk about a lady who knows how to build and maintain partnerships. When we started off in October, the division had grand plans to work with the ECC. Many of those plans had to be shelved. And some persons would have said, oh, things are not materializing, so let's drop the partnership. But she has continued to remain in touch. She's always accessible, always helpful, and always supporting whatever the division is doing. She's so interested in hearing what is the division doing. And I know in their recent Professional Development Institute, they recognized a number of Kiwanis clubs across divisions. There are various persons who were not a part of the core team, but embraced the concept for this forum and showed keen interest and support. Finally, where heart and hands might unite, there is success. Let me read it again. Where heart, hands, and might unite, there is success. We united today. We had a successful staging, and thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, DS Wendy Blackwood. Ladies and gentlemen, this forum was beautiful. I want to join the cause in requesting that a forum of this nature become a quarterly or even an annual event, as it has so much information. I also want to join with DS Wendy in thanking you for making this forum engaging, enriching, and insightful. Thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of the evening. Please keep safe. Good evening.
Well done, team. Congratulations.
You're welcome, LG. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.